Have you ever shared something personal only to regret it the moment it left your lips? In a world where oversharing feels normal, could your silence actually be your greatest strength? The Stoics believed that protecting your inner world was not secrecy, but wisdom. We live in an age where sharing everything has become second nature. Social media, casual chats, even harmless venting, these moments often lead us to reveal more than we should. But the Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, saw things differently. For them, true wisdom meant knowing what to share, when to share it, and, most importantly, what to guard in silence. This isn't about becoming cold or distrustful. It's about protecting your mental clarity and preserving your personal power. Because some parts of your life gain strength, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet. In this video, we'll explore 5 specific things you should never expose to others, according to Stoic philosophy. If you're someone who craves emotional balance, wants to avoid unnecessary drama, and is seeking to build an unshakable peace within, then pay close attention. These ancient lessons have the power to shift how you move through the world. We'll break down each idea with relatable examples and practical reflections. You'll not only learn what to keep private, but why it matters and how doing so can improve your relationships, your decisions, and even how you view yourself. So take a breath, let go of the noise, and prepare to uncover a side of Stoicism that few truly understand, the silent strength of restraint. But before we dive in, I have a small favor to ask. If you find value in thoughtful content like this, filled with timeless insights that help shape a better life, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. That way, you'll never miss what comes next in our shared journey toward wisdom and growth. Now, as always, let's begin with a story, because stories help us feel the lesson, not just understand it. It was a quiet morning when Michael, a close friend of mine, invited me out for coffee. He looked unsettled, the kind of unrest that runs deeper than words. As he stirred sugar into his cup, he finally opened up. He'd shared a bold vision with a few co-workers, his plan to start his own business. The idea? Brilliant. But the reaction? Crushing. Some laughed. Others doubted him outright. A few even suggested he abandon the idea altogether before he'd even begun. I could see it clearly in his eyes. He wasn't just disappointed, he was drained. And that's when I realized this story held a powerful lesson. In Stoic privacy, Michael didn't just need comfort, he needed clarity. That's when I gently brought up the Stoic teachings we touched on before. The wisdom of protecting what matters most by choosing silence over exposure. I told him something that had stuck with me from reading Seneca and Epictetus. When we reveal too much, especially our ideas, dreams, or insecurities, we often open the door to unnecessary judgment. And not everyone who listens is truly on our side. To make it more relatable, I shared a personal experience. There was a time when I too got carried away. In a moment of excitement, I spoke about a major project I was working on. I was convinced it would change everything, a game changer. But it was still fragile, still forming. I told a few people I trusted, thinking they would support me. But soon after, I saw those same people repackaging my idea as their own. They ran with it without me. I had been completely sidelined. It stung, but it taught me something vital. Not everything should be shared, especially not too soon. Sometimes silence is the best protection, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Michael was listening closely now, so I continued. I explained how the Stoics believed we should hold our emotions and plans close, at least until they're stronger, more grounded. I brought up Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor. He was a man of great responsibility, yet he rarely reacted impulsively. He would take time in solitude to reflect before making major decisions, shielding his thoughts from the chaos around him. Just then, another friend, Richard, walked over and joined us. Calm and composed as always, he had this quiet strength about him, even in the most stressful moments. Curious about our talk, he chimed in with a story of his own. I used to be more open, he said. One day I mentioned to a colleague how nervous I was before an important meeting. It felt harmless. But weeks later, during a promotion review, that same colleague brought up my instability. It cost me the opportunity. Since then, I've kept my insecurities private and worked on them quietly. That hit Michael hard. We kept talking about how staying silent doesn't mean being fake. It means choosing what to protect. We touched on other Stoic ideas like avoiding unnecessary conflict, being mindful of what we criticize in others, and not flaunting our achievements for validation. By the end of it, Michael looked lighter, more grounded. He finally understood this isn't about distrusting people. It's about trusting yourself enough to know when not to speak. And as we wrapped up our conversation, I could feel a shift, not just in him, but in me too. There's something powerful about holding back, about guarding your inner world with care. Michael left our conversation with a fresh perspective and a determination to approach things differently. That moment reminded me, Stoicism isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a living practice, a guide for how to navigate modern life with wisdom and emotional clarity. And perhaps this story resonates with you too. Take a moment to reflect. Have you been revealing things that would be better kept private? Could protecting your thoughts and plans help you build a more stable, peaceful life? Let's explore that idea more deeply with the first core lesson from Stoic wisdom. Keep it secret until it's real. This simple habit can completely transform the way you pursue your goals and how you protect your dreams from outside noise. Let's look at a story. John was a young man bursting with ideas. One day, he decided to open a small, cozy cafe in his neighborhood. A quiet place where people could meet, study, or just enjoy a peaceful break from the day. He was passionate, inspired, and full of energy. Naturally, he began telling everyone, friends, colleagues, even distant acquaintances. At first, the responses were positive. People smiled, encouraged him, praised his vision. But soon the tone changed. Are you sure that will work? The market is already flooded with cafes. That sounds risky. You should probably think it through again. The more John heard these comments, the more unsure he became. Bit by bit, the excitement that once fueled him began to fade. His energy wasn't drained by the challenges of starting a business. It was drained by the opinions of others, and this is exactly what Stoic thinkers like Seneca and Epictetus warned us about. They believed that important plans should be protected, especially in their early stages. When we share our dreams too soon, we expose them to doubt, judgment, and envy. Even well-meaning feedback can cast shadows over something still growing. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, understood this deeply. He kept a private journal, a place where he could reflect, plan, and reason without interruption or external pressure. He didn't share those thoughts publicly. It was his sacred space, protected from interference. Some things, like seeds, grow best when left undisturbed. John eventually realized that external opinions were holding him back, so he changed course. He stopped talking about the cafe and started quietly building it. He researched suppliers, studied management, visited other cafes to gather insights. No more updates, no more explanations, just focused, silent action. And 6 months later, the cafe opened. No fanfare, no announcement. It simply appeared. And to everyone's surprise, it was a success. Even those who had doubted him were impressed. John had learned a crucial lesson. Sometimes silence is not just protection, it's power. By keeping his dream safe, he preserved his energy and let his actions speak for themselves. Now, pause and ask yourself, how often have you shared a goal only to feel deflated by others' reactions? What are you currently working on that would benefit from a little more silence and a little less exposure? Because as the Stoics taught us, the more sacred the dream, the more it deserves to grow quietly until it's strong enough to stand on its own. From John's story, we saw how silence can protect your dreams. Now, let's look at another powerful Stoic lesson, this time one that speaks to something more personal, your vulnerabilities. Second lesson, protect your vulnerabilities. In a world that often encourages us to be authentic and share openly, it's easy to forget that not every truth needs to be spoken aloud. The Stoics understood this deeply. While acknowledging your weaknesses is wise, exposing them too freely can leave you open to harm, sometimes unintentionally. Take Mary, for example. She was a hard-working, reliable professional, the kind of person who was always there to support her team. On the outside, she was confident, composed. But beneath that exterior, Mary carried a quiet fear: public speaking. One day, in a light office conversation, she casually admitted her fear. It didn't feel like a big deal, just a passing comment. At first, her co-workers nodded in understanding. It felt safe, but not long after, during an important team meeting, her boss made a joke. "Mary, maybe someone else should do the presentation. We all know how you love the spotlight." Everyone chuckled. It was meant to be lighthearted, but for Mary, it stung. That small exposed truth had been turned into a punchline. Her fear didn't just remain, it deepened. In that moment, she realized something. Even when people mean no harm, your vulnerabilities can still be used against you. That's why Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus warned against sharing sensitive parts of ourselves without discernment. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about choosing wisely when and where to reveal what's most delicate. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that we should be like a well-defended fortress, strong on the outside, secure on the inside. That doesn't mean cold or closed off. It means thoughtful, intentional, protective of what's most fragile. Because protecting your vulnerabilities isn't just self-defense. It's an act of deep self-respect. After that meeting, Mary took a different path. She didn't announce her plan. She didn't ask for sympathy. Quietly, she enrolled in public speaking courses. She practiced small talks with close friends in private settings. No big declarations, just patient growth. Then, months later, it happened. In a new meeting, she was unexpectedly asked to present the results of a key project. Her heart pounded, but this time she was ready. She stood up, took a breath, and delivered her presentation with clarity and calm. Her colleagues were stunned. Where had this confidence come from? When someone asked her how she overcame her fear, Mary simply smiled. She didn't owe anyone an explanation. Her transformation had been private, personal, and powerful. Now, take a moment to think. What weaknesses have you been openly sharing, perhaps without realizing the cost? What parts of you deserve to be nurtured quietly instead of put on display? Remember, guarding your vulnerabilities isn't denial, it's wisdom in action. In the previous lesson, we saw how protecting your vulnerabilities is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's about working on yourself with care and discretion, not display. And that same Stoic principle extends to how we handle our successes. Third lesson, be discreet, not ostentatious. This simple shift in behavior can bring more harmony into your relationships and protect your peace from unnecessary tension. Let's look at Charles. Charles was ambitious, determined. After years of dedication and sacrifice, he finally achieved something he had dreamed of for a long time. He bought his dream car. To him, that car wasn't just a vehicle, it was a symbol of personal victory, proof that all those long hours and quiet struggles had finally paid off. Overjoyed, he did what many people might do. He shared the news. He posted photos online, talked about it with his friends, and proudly celebrated the moment. At first, the reactions were warm. Compliments rolled in. Friends congratulated him. It felt good. But as time passed, something began to shift. A few friends became distant. Subtle comments started circulating. He's getting arrogant. Wonder how he could even afford that. He's changed. What had started as a joyful milestone slowly turned into a source of discomfort. The very thing that symbolized Charles's success now made him feel misunderstood and judged. And this is where Stoic teaching comes in. Marcus Aurelius, in his private reflections, often reminded himself, act to be virtuous, not to be admired. To the Stoics, true contentment isn't found in the approval of others, it's in quiet alignment with your values. Flaunting your achievements can stir envy, invite comparison, or create invisible barriers between you and those around you. Being discreet doesn't mean minimizing your success. It means valuing it for what it truly is, a personal milestone, not a public performance. After reflecting deeply on what happened, Charles made a decision. He stopped chasing external praise. He began to celebrate his wins in smaller, more meaningful ways, surrounded by people who genuinely cared. So when he bought his first house, another huge step, he didn't post a single photo, no announcements, no humble brags. Instead, he invited his family and closest friends for a quiet dinner. There were no filters, no likes, no comparisons, just real joy, shared with those who mattered. And you? How do you handle your achievements? Do you celebrate them from within or display them for approval? The Stoics remind us that being discreet is not about hiding. It's about honoring what's meaningful without turning it into a performance. Discretion doesn't make your achievements any less meaningful. In fact, it enhances them. When you celebrate quietly and authentically with people who genuinely care, you affirm the value of your effort without needing applause. And in doing so, you protect your peace from the heavy burden of external judgment. Now let's move into the fourth lesson. Not every problem needs an audience. This one is especially important in a time where oversharing is often mistaken for vulnerability, and venting is seen as a form of connection. But as the Stoics warned us, not every emotion should be handed over to the public. Sometimes silence is not only wise, it's essential. Anna was the kind of person who brought energy into every room, friendly, open, always ready to chat. She had a natural ease in connecting with people, but that openness came with a price. One day at work, she found herself in the middle of a serious challenge. A high-stakes project had slipped behind schedule, and the pressure was growing fast. Feeling overwhelmed, she began talking about the issue casually with her coworkers. Just venting, she thought, just letting off steam. At first, it felt helpful, but it didn't take long for things to turn. Some began to doubt her ability to lead. Whispers started to circulate. Questions about her competence spread. What began as a moment of stress relief had snowballed into a bigger issue, one that now included her reputation. The Stoics understood this pattern well. They believed in turning inward before turning outward. In fact, Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In modern terms, don't hand your problems to people who can't or won't help solve them. Not everyone deserves access to your struggles. Some may unintentionally magnify them. Others may use them against you. And many simply don't have the context, empathy, or perspective to offer meaningful support. After this experience, Anna reevaluated her approach. Now, when faced with a challenge, she takes a step back and asks herself, can I work through this on my own? If not, who can truly help me, not just listen, but help? She stopped broadcasting her problems to the entire office. Instead, she chose a more thoughtful path, confiding only in people she truly trusted, like a close friend outside of work, or seeking guidance directly from her manager when appropriate. This new way of handling difficulties brought her more clarity, it reduced the drama, and most of all, it helped her regain control. She discovered that strategic silence isn't avoidance. It's a powerful tool for resilience. And now ask yourself, how often do you share your problems without thinking about the impact? What might happen if you practiced a little more discernment and a little less disclosure? Strategic silence, as Anna discovered, can prevent chaos before it begins. And as we transition from what not to say about ourselves, the Stoics urge us to reflect on something just as crucial, what we say about others. Fifth and final lesson, words have weight. Use them wisely. How many times have you said something in a moment of frustration or impulse only to regret it later? Maybe it was meant to be honest or harmless, but the damage was done. Words, once spoken, can't be unsaid. They have the power to build bridges or burn them to ash. Peter was well known in his circle for his blunt honesty. He prided himself on speaking his mind without sugarcoating. During one work meeting, he openly criticized a colleague's proposal. "This plan just doesn't make sense," he said. "It's not going to work." To Peter, It was straightforward feedback. He wasn't trying to be harsh, he was being real. But within days, something shifted. People around the office grew distant. Conversations felt colder. A few co-workers even began avoiding him. What Peter saw as a simple, honest remark had landed like an attack. His words had created discomfort, sowing tension he hadn't intended. That's when he realized. His words carried more weight than he thought. The Stoics were clear on this. They believed that communication is not just about expressing thoughts, it's about shaping relationships and influencing the world around us. Epictetus once advised, first learn to be silent. Then, if you must speak, let your words be worthwhile. In other words, don't speak unless it's necessary. And when you do, choose your words with care. Ask yourself, are my words helpful or harmful? Do they solve a problem or create one? Do I really need to say this right now? Once Peter understood the deeper impact of his communication style, he began to shift. Instead of blurting out criticism, he listened more. When he disagreed with an idea, he asked thoughtful questions like, could we explore another approach here? Or what would happen if we tried a different angle? This subtle change had immediate results. His co-workers began to see him not as harsh, but constructive. He wasn't compromising his honesty, he was refining it. Peter's story is a powerful reminder. Mastery over your words is mastery over your influence. Now, reflect for a moment. When was the last time your words left an unintended mark? How often do you speak just to react instead of to connect? As we come to the end of this journey through Stoic wisdom, let's bring all 5 lessons together into one clear message. Coming up next in our final reflections. Peter's story was a powerful reminder. Wise words build bridges, while careless ones create distance. And that's the heart of our final Stoic insight. The Stoics remind us that language is not neutral. It either uplifts or diminishes, clarifies or confuses, connects or divides. One thoughtless comment can fracture trust. One thoughtful phrase can heal a wound. So before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it kind? Is it truly helpful? If the answer isn't clear, choose silence, because sometimes silence carries more power than any sentence could. Use your voice with intention. Speak when you can add value, and let your words reflect the strength and calm of someone who truly understands the weight they carry. If you've made it to this point, congratulations. That alone says a lot about you. It shows that you're not just passively consuming content, you're actively seeking to grow, to reflect, to evolve. That mindset is rare and admirable. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Or if you don't have anything specific to share, just type gratitude. That way, I'll know you stayed until the very end and that this message reached the right heart. Thank you, truly, for your time, your attention, and your presence. Until we meet again in the next video, keep walking the path of wisdom. Stay grounded, stay thoughtful, and keep evolving.